on the street is that there are different definitions of what a safe space in the workplace is. Let's talk about what is a safe space and what is not a safe space. Let's get to it. All right, gang, joining me here today is a member of the Workplace Change team. His name is Adam, and Adam is a senior people and culture manager here at Workplace Change. Now, I invited Adam to participate in Word on the Street because we have been in these streets inside of a variety of organizations, and we've seen and heard safe space be utilized in some very precarious ways. So I said, hey, let's take it to Word on the Street, and let's talk about what constitutes a safe space or what a safe space should be, and under what circumstances the expectation for a space to be safe should not at all be an expectation. Let's unpack the two. So to begin with, we're gonna start with what a safe space is, okay? So we're gonna just riff a little bit on what we believe constitutes as a safe space. So I'll start. So a safe space is an environment where if something bad happens in the workplace, you have a place to go to explore what happened to you. Even if you're a more sensitive person, or if you consider yourself to be pretty, rough around the edges and you can kind of tuck and roll, you still know that you've got an outlet. Maybe it's human resources, maybe it's a manager, but it's some place where you can go, express yourself and what happened, and you won't be judged, or people won't say like, oh, that didn't happen to you, or you shouldn't take it that way. You can really just kind of release some of the things that happen and get some coaching, get some guidance, or some clear next steps. And every person who comes to that manager or human resources representative or leader with a concern will be treated fairly and consistently, right? Safe space, right? That's a classic safe space. And I hope that everybody truly does feel that they have that in their workplace. All right, Adam, what's another safe space as you see it?
Yeah, I agree with that definition, and I would go a step further and to say, when I hear safe space, it almost for me implies that there is going to be some discomfort, and that safety is not the promise of avoiding all discomfort. It's about knowing that you're going into a situation to explore that discomfort in a collective, and then have some guidance there out of that discomfort with new understanding.
Right on. So when folks go into an environment and they have a conversation and they're like, well, this person didn't side with me, they didn't affirm me, this was not a safe space. Maybe they've misunderstood or miscalculated what a safe space is supposed to do.
Exactly.
Right?
It happens all the time, and I think that's why we hear the term brave space used instead.
Yeah.
Because you have to have some courage to go in these situations. It's not going to be easy lifting.
All right. So my third one is going to be safe space in a group setting, right? A safe space in a group setting is one where mistakes happen, right? You can say the wrong thing, have the wrong tone, right? Or, just, be rude or be mean to someone and you get redirected. That is a safe space, right? It's an environment where something happened, it was witnessed, and redirection, gentle but direct, occurs, okay? And it's not necessarily, you may feel attacked when that happens. I want to be very clear, and I think, Adam, you gave a great illustration of this. You were talking about how, like, when you say something that was kind of true to you and deeply hardwired inside of you and you get redirected, you can feel like that's an attack against you because you were redirected. But that's not how you should see a safe space, right? The space is one where you can have a conversation. Someone can redirect you. Hey, when you misgender me, hey, when you use that terminology, that language, it impacts me in this way, or I would rather we not use that kind of language. And even though it feels personal to you, it's not necessarily an attack. Not that attacks never happen, but I'm just saying a redirection is not inherently an attack, and the ability to redirect is likely a safe space.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, and I mean, we got to explore that concept of safety. If I am on a boat and I have a life raft, the use of the life raft is a safety implement, but it means that I'm in an inherently unsafe situation already.
Right.
But it's going to float me out of that situation, and I'm going to learn something in the process.
I like that.
Right.
I like that. And what's the fourth one that you wanted to talk about? A safe space, an illustration of a safe space.
Well, for me, another example of a safe space might be in a one-on-one coaching scenario where you're sitting down with a leader and maybe you're receiving some mentorship and you're able to explore ways in which you've made a mistake or you need some feedback that ultimately is about redirecting you to, meeting new challenges and ultimately coming out a stronger professional than you were before you went in.
I love when you were talking about the mentorship situation, you said it's a judgment-free zone away from your peers.
Right.
Right? So you're in a space where you can be vulnerable, where you can say that I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know where to go with this situation. And you can get coached to do it differently than you have in the past, or a different way of thinking about it, and not be fully exposed to the folks who report into you or to your peers. Yep. So I love that illustration. All right, now we're going to close out this segment of Word on the Street, what is and what is not a safe space, by talking about what a safe space is not.
Yeah.
All right. So we've heard people utilize and almost to a certain extent kind of weaponize the terminology of safe space. So I want to start by sharing what a safe space is not. The first one is, you can't claim that you thought you were in a safe space to attack someone, okay? Meaning a mistake happens. So let's say a person is misgendered, because that is happening more chronically, especially as people are becoming more familiar with pronouns and kind of stepping into their truth in the workplace. Misgendering can happen. Let's say it happens for the first time with a manager in a group environment. And let's say someone redirects them, which is totally appropriate to do. But let's say in that redirection, they actually call them a homophobe, or, just kind of attack them in other ways outside of the redirecting that you use the wrong pronouns under these circumstances. That you can't say, I thought this was a safe space to do that, or this was a space where I'm trying to be an active ally. No, you cannot attack someone else. You can redirect them. You can tell them what your expectations are. You can lay some bright lines down. Please don't cross these bright lines. When you go into the name calling, when you go into the kind of abusive behavior, that has to be redirected. And there's no safety, there's no space where you should feel safe enough to attack someone in that way. The second one we explored is one that I wanted for you to unpack, and that was the use of slanderous terms in the workforce, in the workplace.
Absolutely. We've seen so many instances where folks use the safe space, in order to retell and reanimate situations, oftentimes with good intentions, in the hopes to come out of those situations with new understanding, but they will actually employ the same terms and they'll retell terms that are just not ever okay to use in a safe space. Specifically, but in the workplace at all. And
or in life.
In life, yeah. When we're talking about people groups, and there's just no, I don't care if it's a song, I don't care if it's retelling what somebody else awful said and you're trying to prove how good you are, there's no good context in which actually re-saying the word is okay, and no one's gonna feel safe.
Absolutely. This week alone, we have seen 2 different clients where folks have used very loaded language that I have never experienced in the workplace. And I've worked in hundreds of workplaces in doing this work with workplace change, but even in being an FTE, I've never heard it used. And it was used to retell a story on both occasions. Well, this person said the N-word, and they said it hard R and all. And I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
What one lady said, don't take offense to this. Don't be offensive.
Right.
Hey, the N-word is sufficient, right? If you're talking about a term that somebody else used and they use the slanderous F term against the LGBTQ plus community, saying the F word is sufficient. There's never a time where you should be using these loaded terms about the Latin community, the Asian community, the Black community, the gay community. You don't need to use these words. What are you doing? What is happening,
Just stop.
Adam?
Yeah, and in all of those situations where someone is retelling, we tend to see people come to their rescue as though to provide the safe space and say, I'm sure they didn't mean it like that. And they, without realizing it, they reinforce a sort of, bigotry gaslighting, where you're kind of telling people like, it's not allowed to feel that way. You're not allowed to feel offended by this, because they're just retelling a story and they don't actually believe that themselves.
And this is a safe space that we've created for them to do that. Safe for whom?
Right.
Because it dang sure isn't safe for me as a person who is saying this language is making me harmed, and you're now excusing the harm that was caused by this individual. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Safe for whom? Okay? And the last one, that, where you cannot utilize, I thought this was a safe space, is when yelling at someone, when name calling someone, when showing parts of your body, your personal body, to others in the workplace. Look, you all may be like, oh, Cyrilda, what extreme examples you're supplying. Man, these are not extreme examples. These things are happening in the workplace. I mean, I could tell you stories, and if you take me for a nice beverage and maybe a meal, I will tell you all the stories. Never any names, never any companies. But Lord, the stories are bizarre. And folks will say, I thought this was a safe space. I thought this was a space where you could be yourself and I could just, be free to be me. No, be your most professional self, okay? Don't be who you are at your family reunion. Don't be who you are at your cookout. Don't be who you are at games night or in karaoke night. Be your most professional self in the workplace. And employer, really work hard to try to create an environment where people can come for guidance and counsel and to be redirected and to be respected along the way and create a true sense of safety in the workplace versus these manufactured, self-serving ideas or ideals of what a safe space is supposed to be just for one individual. All right? So that's this issue of word on the street. Thanks for joining us today, Adam. Hopefully we'll see you again.
I hope so.
And if you want to join into the conversation, please jump into the chat. Please send us a message. We are always open to the discussion about safe spaces, about the workplace, the workforce, and any other people and culture matter. Until next time.